We're now live. That's the surprise face. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Nancy Sheed of Sheed Communications, and I am very excited and long overdue, happy to be here with Marietta Crawford, who is a personal brand strategist. We met through a mutual friend, we were reminded, right?
Yes.
For doing similar things and just kind of bonded over our love of LinkedIn. So welcome, Marietta. We're here to talk about raising your visibility online, but tell us more about what you do as a personal brand strategist.
Thank you, Nancy. It's so good to be here with you. I help small business owners, coaches, consultants, experts who want to grow their brands on LinkedIn, who wants to have that digital presence that is a cohesive, compelling brand. So I help them make that happen and really get clear on how to have a strategy to not only look good, but to attract clients and, be profitable as well.
I love that. Yeah, it was definitely the love of LinkedIn, because I had people that used to call me and say, "Would you write my bio?" And I'm like, how about I help you write your bio? Do this together, please. This is a joint effort, and ultimately, you need to do that. How a little bit more? LinkedIn didn't exist, at least for me, when I was graduating from college. How did you come into this role of kind of being a LinkedIn expert and personal brand expert? What brought you here?
Yeah, it was me being in Fortune 500 companies, being an employee, or as I called myself back then, an entrepreneur, wanting to have my own business. And I remember I started my business in 2011 on the side, writing resumes, helping people with their job search. I was always looking for a better job and opportunity. And at that point, LinkedIn became, that's how we know LinkedIn, right? As this place where initially it was just for job seekers. So if you were looking for employment, that was where you had to be. And so it was a place where I started sharing my thoughts and really positioning myself for opportunities and helping other people, just like you. People started saying, it became not only about a resume, it became about the LinkedIn profile. And that spun off into a business. And really, I saw it as an opportunity to help business owners, because I became a business owner as well. And it was that mystery to business owners who may have thought the same thing, like, okay, I'm hearing about LinkedIn. I know that I started a profile years ago, maybe an exaggeration, but now I'm hearing that you can attract clients there. How do you do that? How do I grow my presence there? And that's really how my business transitioned, because the same strategies that I was using when I started out actually became the strategies that still help in a very authentic and organic way.
I love it. Yeah, I know several people who had the set it and forget it approach to LinkedIn, yes. Right? Like, yes. Build up my profile, done there, don't need to do anything till I need to get a job.
Yes.
What? Are you crazy?
And it was very robotic too, right? Because there's no rule book, right? So it's like Marietta Dental Crawford is a proven, dedicated person who is reliable, and all these words that just seemed right, but didn't make you stand out. So there was like no rule book as far as what to do. To this day, people, it's like going and, people treat it like, okay, can I do this? Can I post this? And it's like, yes, be who you are. Like, the cool kids are here now. The rules are different. And the more you are who you are in a very real human way, the more people are going to be attracted to you and your profile.
Yeah, exactly. I think that engagement part. So I think the other reason I would say I ended up here was it was the social network that people who weren't on social media went to, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well as I think the other thing that was attractive to me, and I still say to this day, is Google loves a good LinkedIn profile, right?
Yes.
Like, so why would you not take advantage of this kind of free real estate to own your space on the internet and tell that story, right? So I think that's how I got into it, as well as people suddenly started saying, like, could you help me? And I'm like, okay, sure, yeah. Like, fun, right?
It's so true. Like, I'm sorry if I'm salivating and geeking out over all of this, but you're right. Like, the reality is that if you Google yourself and you consider yourself someone who is positioning yourself for clients, an expert, whatever your field is, if someone Googles you, your LinkedIn profile will more than likely turn up in the top 3 results, sometimes for some people higher than their own personal website, right? Or if you meet someone at an event, a networking event, back in the days when we were able to do this a little bit more face-to-face, but even online, and you see somebody in a Facebook group, what are we doing? We're actually like snooping a little bit on them, right? We're going on, LinkedIn,
100%.
and we're checking them out. So why not make sure, to your point, that when someone is looking at you, even if LinkedIn is not your main platform, right? Why not make sure that it's positioned strategically so that people are getting the most updated information? They know where to go. They know who you are, who you help, and what you do.
Preach. I'm in. I'm totally, totally in. So, we were talking before we were chatting, but I want to take a step back before we dive all into our love of LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And and you use this as part of your own marketing, right? Like personal brand strategist. So, when did you see this becoming so important? Because I have a love-hate relationship with it on behalf of my clients. It's what we do, but it's not the words we use, right? So
Yeah.
when did you sort of adopt this as part of what you do, or how you explain what you do to people?
Oh, I love it. It really is a love-hate relationship with that word. It's almost like this thing that people, the term itself took on this meaning that made people, almost like a Taylor Swift song. It may not necessarily be bad, but because you hear it on, I don't even know. I feel like I'm not even hip anymore. Who knows if she even has the album out at this point? But like back in the day when she was hip, it's like, okay, I remember someone saying in an article I wrote, and it was about branding. They were like, well, I don't want to brand myself. I want to position myself and market my skills in a way that shows my unique abilities. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually branding, right? So it becomes something that you love to hate or you hate to love. But I think what helps me explain it to my clients, and I'm fortunate that most people, and I'm sure you experience that too, it's like they know that this is the same thing no matter what you call it. But I think about it is that, especially now when we're in this world where we can't have that face-to-face connection anymore, we can't shake hands, you can't look someone in the eye the same way, flesh to flesh. I guess you don't look at someone like that, but you can't have that same human connection. It's even more important to be able to feel like like, and trust that person.
Yeah.
And it's even more important to make sure that you're not blending in with everyone. When someone sees your name, when someone sees you online, your digital presence, there's something about you that stands out and makes them want to take that relationship further, to inspire action, to go into your program, to sign up for your newsletter, whatever that may be.
Yeah. And I love hearing your description of it. Where I see it play out, and maybe it's the reason we don't call it a personal brand, is that sometimes when I'm working with people, they've come to a place where they have several different identities online, right? Like they're an expert, they're an author, they're an investor. They may have changed careers, right? So typically what happens is there's kind of like several personalities that
Yeah.
have been grown over the internet. And it may be time to kind of either bring those together, shift it slightly for a book launch to be an expert in a different way. And so I think sometimes what it looks like for us is, again, as opposed to crafting the personal brand, we're trying to tell the story of, of who this person is the way we sort of talk about it. And I think what's also happened is years ago, you wanted to say well, I want these people to see me this way. I want these people to see me this way. I want these people to see me this way. And I think that's just change, right? Like it's okay and acceptable for you to be a multifaceted, several, kind of silo person. You can be, I mean, an author and an expert in this, and also probably be, a mom. That's part of your credentials, right? So
Or you knit, and you do art, and you're a painter as well, right?
right. No, that's very true. And I think when you're the reason people come to us or sometimes need help is when you're in the middle of it, you can't see, I said this, like, you can't see the forest for the trees. because
Yes.
you're in it and you're seeing how it works individually, and you get all caught up. So I think that's the fun part for me, to your point, is what's the story you want to tell, how are we going to tell it, and what does that look like across these platforms, right?
Yes. And when you use the word creative brand, it's like it's not about creating a persona, right? It's not about creating this personality that fits to you, exactly to what you're saying, Nancy. It's not about being this one-dimensional person, because especially for those who have years of experience and, like you said, are multifaceted. There's so many parts, and no one is saying that you should tuck one part away, because there are some cases where actually that will be the asset. That's the thing that's going to make somebody remember you. The thing that you're like, oh, no one wants to know that I used to be an ice skater. But maybe the fact that you trained almost at an Olympic level. This is the real story. Maybe the fact that you were almost an Olympic ice skater has to do with the fact that you are so driven now and your discipline now is a part of your story. So pulling those things are out and not hiding them away is actually more of an asset than people may even understand.
Yeah, and I love that we get to draw that out. I know my sideline related story to that was, I know somebody who he was interested in remote control airplane flying on his interest resume, on the interest section of his LinkedIn, and he ended up getting the job off of somebody who looked very similar, but he could chat about the local airplane shows, and it showed again like he was passionate about this industry that he was in. So I love that piece.
Yes, let's not hide it away. We don't have to create anything to conform to what we think is acceptable or what other people are doing in the industry. It's actually about pulling those things that make you different, not necessarily what makes you blend in.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So for those of you just joining us, I'm very excited to be here with my cohort in crime on raising visibility online, Marietta Crawford. And we're talking about how, what people can do, why they have issues with personal brand. But let's kind of dive in. And what are some, I'm sure you have your, I don't know, 2, 3, or 5. What are some basic things people can either do or look at, think about, or answer if they're, let's say, kind of going on this journey, either for creating this personal brand or maybe refreshing it or redesigning it?
Yeah, I love that question. I always go back to my 4 C's to brand clarity. And it's something that, I apply whether I'm working on someone's bio, whether I'm working on someone's LinkedIn profile. But it's really these 4 C's. At any time, you can always just look at and say, is there an alignment? Is there something that is my strength or my weakness? So the first one I say is to be clear, right? To be really clear about, again, the basics of who you are, what you do, and who you help. And yes, there are definitely, it's not to say that you have to put yourself in a box and say, well, I only work with holistic, business owners. I only work with, whatever that niche may be. But it's really making it clear so that when someone is looking for, let's say for you, someone is an author, like, who's the top person I want to work with? Nancy, of course, Marietta for LinkedIn, whatever that case may be. So being clear so that not only are you're clear for yourself, but for other people who will keep you top of mind. And then the second C is being credible. And as we both know, credibility is so important. And even when I think about LinkedIn, there are so many people who don't show up as good as they really are. And any opportunity that you have to, support that you're an expert, validate that you're an expert, whether it's through features, whether it's through your client testimonials, you want to have that credibility that's going to allow you to, have people really take note of what you're saying and not just brush you off as like, oh, well, this person, what do they know? They're just another coach or whatever the case may be, right? And then the third one is consistent. And I like this, when I think of consistent, I think about just to what we were talking about before. No matter where someone finds you, there is a consistent feel, right? They're not finding you on Instagram and you're just seem completely like another person. And
different pictures, different website links.
Right.
Oh, my
you're not even like, I wonder if it's the same person, right?
Yep.
So being consistent, and I focus on that because sometimes people, we're more is better thing, and I don't necessarily feel like you have to be every single where and posting,
Right.
5 times a day, but just being consistent when you show up as that same person. And then clear, consistent, credible. And the last one is carefree. And it goes to, just what we're saying, where it's like, personal branding, you think, oh, goodness, it just feels so icky because I have to be this person. I can't show that I like remote planes. I shouldn't be carefree about the fact that I like cookies and cupcakes or whatever it is. And it's really about, as woo as it may sound, being cool with who you are, even the quirks, because that's going to attract your people.
I'm a fan of the woo. So I love that. And as my friends who know me, I'm a big fan of the woohoo as well. But I love that, and I think very similar. And I think on the clear, it sounds easy, and it's not always the easiest part. So I even break down your clear is like who, and you said this, I just want to reiterate it because these are like the people, like who are you? Who are you serving and talking to? Right. And what do you want them to do, learn, or know? Like, what action do you want? Like, to me, those are 3 key parts in clear that people just are like, I'm clear, I know what I'm doing, and they skip to your other ones, right? And I'm like, if you didn't nail what's in that clear part, you've lost your foundation to build the other parts, right?
Yes. And to your point too, like when you first introduced the question, I loved how you introduced it because it's not like a one-time thing. We are always evolving, right? So this is something where as you start to change and your interest starts to change, to always look at that and make sure that your message is keeping up with that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when you said consistency, my brain went a slightly different way with consistency, and that is what we just talked about, like consistently being present and engaging on whatever platforms you've chosen to be on. So after you've gotten a consistent kind of look and feel wherever you are online, that you consistently show up and you don't take that, set it and forget it. Like, I don't need to come to LinkedIn because I'm not looking for a job, right? Like, or, okay, I posted on Instagram, once this week and, I'm done. I don't need to do that. So I think those 2 different components of consistency are really important. But I think I love that you've put the alliteration there and made it really easy for just sort of like these key elements. And I think if people can think of it that way, it also becomes a little less, overwhelming.
Overwhelming. And even to your point about the set it, forget it, some business owners may think, well, most of my followers are on Instagram, so I don't really need to touch LinkedIn. But you still need to have that. I mean, even if you have, you're doing a challenge or you have a program that you're promoting and you're doing it everywhere, why not have that opportunity to have it a part of your profile or have it, I don't recommend just hopping on, LinkedIn and saying, hey, check out my challenge when you haven't been on. That's like the same thing with doing that in email. You can buy it and it's like, hey, buy my stuff. That's not necessarily going to work. But nurturing your LinkedIn, even if it's not your main platform, it's always a benefit, especially when you think about visibility and opportunities that it'll attract.
100%. So I want to now, like, we love LinkedIn, like it's our favorite place. It's well, and so I just wanted to kind of touch upon like we talked about how we ended up there. But what, in terms of LinkedIn, what are the reasons if you have to sell somebody on LinkedIn? I think we've touched upon it, but what do you sell people on? Or if they say they hate it or they don't do social media, like what are your kind of favorite things about LinkedIn that maybe people don't know about that you like to sort of impart your wisdom with?
I love these questions. I think the thing that I would say is that at the end of the day, if you are an author, you're a speaker, you are a service-based business, you have a business or a brand, dare I say, there are things that you want when you talk about being seen and visibility. A lot of times that could be being asked to be a guest. There's things that people are seeking. You may want to be quoted in Forbes. You may want to be in Business Insider. You may want to speak at a summit. All of these things are going to elevate your brand, elevate your platform. And in order to do that, you need to create this micro celebrity halo, a halo of celebrity. And you can do that with LinkedIn. And the reason why I love it is because when I say halo of celebrity, it doesn't mean that you have a 120K followers on LinkedIn. Because one thing I always say, followers and likes do not equate to money. It doesn't equate to opportunities. It just looks great from a vanity style, metrics wise.
Right.
Really showing up, the benefit of showing up, or at least having a profile that is aligned with everything else, makes it easier for someone who is looking for an author who is a nutritionist, who has a different way of looking at life, or a homeschool teacher, homeschool teacher business, whatever that person does. When they're checking you out, if you show up the way that you would like to be seen, it makes it easier. I mean, literally, one of my favorite stories is when I had a speaking gig at a 5K global tech company, literally because the person was putting together an event, looking for a personal brand strategist. She found me, she loved my profile, she went to my website, the rest is history. So if I had to convince somebody, I would say, think about what you're looking for and how you would like to be ready for that next opportunity that you don't even know is waiting for you.
Right. I love that. So my stolen version of that is, it would be, you want to look as successful online as you are in real life.
Yes.
Right. And for that exact reason, like, make it really, really easy, make it easy for people to find the story, and make it easy for them to get you. And it can be done, and you've already said this, but it can be done in an authentic, real way that doesn't feel as salesy and schmoozy. And I love the kind of, micro celebrity, or just build your, be yourself, but you can build that community naturally and authentically. And it doesn't have to be in this hustle, sales, buy my stuff, hire me kind of mode, right?
Yeah. Do you think it comes off like, I wonder sometimes, like, from your experience, do you think that it just seems like too much work? Like, where that resistance comes from?
For the people that I work with, one, it's a time issue. They're so busy being, I mean, as your business owners probably are too, they're so busy, the act of writing a book, or the act of consistently delivering, kind of that very high touch, high value content that they're putting out, and probably, a million other things. It does become a matter of partly of time, and partly of, at least in my situation, why can't the content just, like, I have all this amazing, prolific, awesome content. Why can't the content speak for itself?
Right. Yeah.
Has brought them this far, which is awesome. It's not necessarily the resistance, but it's the, how do we incorporate you as the expert into this? Because it still is very personal. There's still a person behind that expertise. There's still a person behind that message, that powerful message. So it's helping that part. Those are the kind of the places where it's resistant, is this is still about you, even though you've got the awesome content. How do we, get you there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we were talking before, and I just want to check in with you in terms of, either current trends or changes, or what you and I are seeing, or that we're having conversations with our clients about, in terms of, again, raising their visibility. And let's start with LinkedIn, because that's what we love and that's your expertise. And then we can talk about anything else, right?
Yes.
What are your favorite either tips or tricks or trends that you're seeing, or that you're working with your clients on with regard to LinkedIn?
Well, definitely video still seems to win. There's an 80s song, "Video Killed the Radio Star." And video apparently killed the blogger, because video is definitely something that people do like. People, do love connecting and face-to-face, just as we're doing now. And so with that live, everybody wants to get on that live feature, right? So that is something that is still hot. And I do like it. I do feel like it's good. It's a great way. My only thing where I'm mindful of, and this is something where I say to my clients too, is just making sure that we're very intentional still, no matter what content is. Because unfortunately, with everyone knowing that video is the thing, it does flood sometimes the feeds with videos that may not have the same quality as far as content and information. So still being mindful of that,
100%. And I think my other question to you, or the other two things that have seemed interesting, is that debate, or the question I always get is the debate between publishing on LinkedIn versus long form posts. And that seems to flip flop, and it's not always consistent between clients. And I don't know that there's a right answer. I kind of say, this is what we see here, or this is what, this is what I've seen work. But I don't have a definitive answer. I'm just wondering if you do, or you've seen more consistency in one or the other.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's interesting because back in the days before LinkedIn became that popular, like, publishing was the thing. That's really how I built my side business, because people actually saw your articles, right? You published and people got notifications. They read your work, and then so it. Now, it got to the point where notifications were something. Not everyone, it's like, hey, I'm connected to Nancy. Why have I not seen Nancy's content? Or, right, like, why? And I understand the back end side. My background is in technology. So I do understand the back end side, where if you have 5,000 people posting all the time, you don't really want to annoy people with notifications. But that's where publishing directly into the platform became a challenge, because you had great content that unfortunately did not get the visibility it deserved. And then people were finding out, okay, if I just do a long form post, exactly like what you mentioned, it seems like LinkedIn likes that. I call the algorithm Oz, like the secret person we're all trying to please, right?
Exactly. Which now might be video, but and
it is really where I actually have a newsletter. So they had piloted a series where you could have your newsletter series.
That was my next question. I wanted to know if you know anybody doing the newsletter. Okay.
And it's done well. Like, I have over 8,000 subscribers to my newsletter. So that gave me the incentive to start posting. And because I'm a part of the newsletter, I have received more organic reach than possibly someone who doesn't have it and, have the same struggles. So it really depends. I mean, there's room for that. But at the end of the day, I also say, like, for people who get discouraged, all it really takes at the end of the day, I mean, listen, we all have the vanity metrics and we all have the egos. I mean, there's times I post something good and I'm like, oh, this is gonna really hit the mark with people, and it's like 3 likes. And there's things that you just don't really think about, and you put it out there and it has such a huge reaction. But I would say that even with trying to please the algorithm and wonder what works or not, because to your point, it changes like constantly. All it takes is the right person to see your content and reach out and become that client, or become that speaking invitation, or the opportunities to talk about your book. So it really has to be something that we're mindful of, but we don't put too much emphasis on too.
Well, you literally, I was talking to a woman yesterday, and she said that it was a reason for speaking, and she helps people give talks and presentations. And she's very much about, you're a success if that one person is transformed or takes action. I was like, okay, I need to be reminded of that. So
yes.
That's really helpful. Okay, I have to go back to the newsletter. Did you apply? Did they ask you? What's the strategy for people who want to know? Because I haven't done it yet, but I have clients who've been asking. So
so I believe I did apply. I did apply. This was maybe 2019, however long ago ago.
Holy moly. Okay.
Yeah, that was 2019, and I did apply, and of course, I showed proof of articles from the past that actually did well, which
okay.
Yeah, they said, "Have you posted in the past?" It's like, yes, I have, and how well it did. Me, that's where you pull your card of like, I've been on this platform writing since.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, I mean, for some clients, they've got that. We just haven't jumped through the hoop. The next step, and is it required? I'm sorry, I'm taking advantage of your great nature. Is it required to be new content, or can it be content that goes out in a newsletter that elsewhere, or do they not check that exclusivity?
They don't check that exclusivity. I would just say, like, you want to be mindful that there may be a duplicate audience. At the same time, we don't want to think that everyone is reading and noticing our every little change.
Oh, I say that all the time.
5 years ago, I'm totally, cheated. She just did that on her email list too. So
somebody, and they have a book. They're like, we've been talking about this for 3 years. And I said, you have been talking about it for 3 years, but you have an audience that half has not, that half are new to you in the past 3 years, and they haven't heard that conversation. So I know you're looking forward, but realize like you can still be talking about these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Thank you for indulging me, because I was like, maybe I can figure out how to swap you a LinkedIn Live access, and you can swap me a LinkedIn newsletter.
There you go. There you go. I do feel like it has good reach, but anywhere that you can show that. Same thing like with LinkedIn Live, they want to see proof of or the video. Anywhere that you can show like proof of engagement and quality and content helps. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Marietta, this has been such a treat. I love nerding out and talking like same stuff with like people who do what I do, and but like this nerdy stuff. But I think also stuff, reiterating to each other and to our respective, audiences. Some of this stuff, it sounds like common sense, but we honor that it's hard to do when you're in it by yourself. And so sometimes it's important to get somebody who's can look away and or knows what's going on these platforms to help you out. So what's the best way for people to reach and connect with you? I'm assuming LinkedIn, but tell us all the ways, and I'll also add it in the comments.
Sure. My home is Mary Brands for You, MARI brandsforyou.com. So you'll have it there. And I also have a free LinkedIn guide. And that's a great way for those who are just like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm interested, not interested, to get that nice introduction that makes them feel like, okay, I'm interested. I'm intrigued. So yeah.
Sorry, the dog is barking. This is the big part about live. So I will end on that, with the dog barking, so we don't have to listen anymore, and I can go deal with this dog.
It was a good timing, actually.
Thank you, Marietta, for your time. This was a treat. I will share all your links, but this was a treat. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. I really could have done this for another 45 minutes, an hour with you. So hopefully we can do that in person one day.
Would love that. Thank you.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.